accommodating. Number 8, Minister. Number 8.
Minister, I want to ask you about the rent controls and the progress of same, and I would like also to use the opportunity to ask you, if I may, if you would comment on the RTE programme last Monday night on the housing crisis. I think that would be very useful. But I want to ask you about the progress of the rent controls, because what we're finding is that there are areas outside the designated local authority areas, and I notice you have increased from 12 local electoral areas in January, and Cove and Maynooth last month added to the pressure zones. But the pressure zones themselves are causing pressures in other areas, and I'd like to get some kind of a response from you as to how much of a progress you are getting reports on this and how much of an eye you keep on it.
I didn't actually see all of the programme, but I did answer questions on the Claire Byrne show afterwards, and some of the people who were on the programme that were I was in Waterford that night, but I did it from the Waterford studio. And just to update people, the young man who was directly around rent pressure zones, we will have a review of rent pressure zones in the summer in terms of their effectiveness. 57% of rental properties now are in rent pressure zones. As I said when we introduced the legislation, there was a lot of scepticism on the opposition benches when we did debate this legislation, because people thought it was only going to apply to Dublin and Cork City. We've seen since then, of course, that it's expanded into multiple other areas and will continue to do so. If there are issues in relation to neighbouring areas whereby people feel that they may get designated as rent pressure zones, I'll come in when I come back again,
Thank you, Minister.
Deputy, but I will answer.
Brid Smith.
What do I get? 1 minute, is it? Okay, just on the stuff about the programme, there was a young woman on that, featured on that. She wasn't on the question part of it, Selena Hogan from Ballyfermot, who will be put out of her house on the Easter Monday, and Selena cannot, she's entitled to HAP, but she cannot get a landlord to take her. Now, I think the HAP programme is an absolute abject failure for hundreds and hundreds of families at the moment who cannot access private landlords who will take them. And I think it's something we really need to examine very carefully, because this is leading to families being continually made homeless. They cannot access HAP, landlord don't want them. And I also have it reported to me that a REITs company say that your system is not working for them. And the whole idea was that these vulture funds would get the houses, and the companies, REITs companies, would then help through the market mechanisms take people off the homeless list. Well, apparently they're not receiving the HAP from your department for 3 or 4 months, and they're not interested in dealing with your department on the question of HAP. And I'll come back to the rent controls in the last minute I have.
I have to say that I think the HAP systems, from what I can see, and if you have evidence to suggest otherwise, Deputy, I'd like to see it. But from my understanding, HAP is working very successfully. There was an extra 50.
Thank you, Minister.
Your office will be bombarded now with people who are coming to my clinic on a daily basis because they cannot access HAP, and I will send you the cases, I guarantee you that. And I know many of them would love to be in my shoes today, facing you down, because they're so angry with the housing situation they're in. Look, I'll go back to the rent controls very briefly. If you're ever at a party and the following day you're cleaning up and there's a soft balloon, and you've locked the air on one side of it, all the air goes in to make the balloon almost burst on the other side, you know, when you're messing with them. And that's exactly what's happening on the zones outside the rent pressure zones. I had a bus worker, and I spoke about the bus workers in here before. They don't earn a huge amount of money, lives just outside Navan, and he has been told by his landlord that his rent is going from $800 a month to $1,500 in one fell swoop. He can't afford to stay there. Who could afford to stay there? Certainly not an average worker. This is happening in all of the rent zones. So your rent control is not working, and what really needs to be done is a review of that will take rents back down to 2011 levels, because Dublin is becoming even more expensive than London to live in. That's not containable.
Thank you, Deputy. I want to bring in Deputy General Sullivan as well.